So, a royal romance and the fascinating history of Australia's relationship with Queen Elizabeth II, now almost 60 years after her first visit to Australia on the eve of her grandson's wedding. Is our romance with Queen Elizabeth and her heirs drawing to a close? Will Australia's future remain as a constitutional monarchy or a republic? On our panel tonight, academic and Aboriginal activist Marcia Langton, Howard Government Minister and Republican Amanda Vanstone, Howard Government Minister and monarchist Nick Minchin. Joining us at Her Majesty's pleasure, rejected wedding commentator Craig Rucastle, entertainment reporter, just hold on for a second, let us get through the whole of them, entertainment reporter and monarchist Angela Bishop, and former Labor Premier of New South Wales and Republican Bob Cowan. Also in the audience tonight we have 12 high school debaters who recently travelled to Canberra to argue the case for and against the Republic, and academic and commentator Dr Aaron Paul, who's made a close study of our relations with the Royals. Now please welcome all of our special guests. Thank you. Q&A is live until 10:30 Eastern Time. You can go to our website to send your questions. You can join the Twitter conversation using the hashtag that just appeared on your screen. It's back there now. Our first question tonight comes from Angela Chen.
As Mr Rucastle knows far too well, yesterday the Chaser's coverage of the royal wedding has been axed. Since then, the internet and all its forums, including Facebook, have gone wild in support for the Chaser's program. Do you think that the monarchy is too conservative and proper for the modern day society, which is filled with democratised media and satirical scrutiny?
Craig Rucastle.
Yes, I do to a point, yes. So I do think that the actions of stopping us from doing this commentary were over the top and certainly not fitting with the time, and I think it's a reflection of a kind of media management and a concern that really shouldn't be there at the moment, and I think it was definitely over the top. I mean, I don't think us on ABC2 were really going to manage to overthrow the monarchy. To give a bit of context though, before it gets seen as just the thing about the monarchy, what you have to understand is that right now, in Australia, the same laws apply for our parliament. The Chaser cannot use footage of parliamentarians for satirical purpose on TV, on the ABC. And the ABC has Nick, and the ABC has respected that for many years. So, look, it's not new. It's not only the royal family. I think the royal family is very outdated, as is the Parliament of Australia.
It's new being banned by royal decree.
Yes,
pretty
that's
much.
new.
This came from Clarence House. Do you see Prince Charles's hand in this?
Look, it certainly went through the Royals' media management. It was certainly going through Clarence House, and it was certainly been done between the BBC and them. And it was them basically kicking up a fuss. I mean, they were sending around articles about the fact we were doing the show and saying, how are we going to deal with this and can we stop them? And they did it in many ways.
You just heard Angela Chen's question, and she talked about a backlash on social media. I mean, in the end, do you think this is going to hurt the Chaser more than the Royals, or vice versa?
I don't think it would hurt the Chaser more than the Royals, really. I don't think it would necessarily hurt either institution. Both are sometimes liked and often hated, really.
Angela.
I was just going to say, hasn't it done you an enormous favour? You're the comedy show that's been banned by the Palace, and you've been reported around the world, the United States.
Yes, but you see, a comedy show that's not going to air.
I know.
But the next one, everyone will be watching.
In the end, we would have preferred to go to air. I mean, despite the fact that I'm quite glad I don't actually have to watch the royal wedding now, compulsorily, it would have been nicer to go to air in the end. We've done a lot of work on it.
Go on, you get a sneak peek, you won't be able to help yourself.
Well, we'll see. I might. We'll see.
Now, before we go to the other panellists, we've actually got young academic Aaron Paul in the audience, made a study, as we said, of Australia's relationship with the monarchy. You wrote about this today. Do you think this censorship of the Chaser will actually hurt the monarchy? We'll just wait. We'll get a microphone over to you if we can. Aaron, you've got a... Okay.
Yes. Well, I don't think it'll hurt the monarchy. You won't overthrow the monarchy just by this one event. But I think it is a bad look for the monarchy to be trying to control its image in public when part of the appeal of the monarchy is that it is something that's powerless and owned by the people. So I think that's, if they were to continue doing that kind of thing and engage in public censorship, I think that would be a bad look for them. And particularly because the monarchy, part of its appeal is it's a pop culture institution. So this is satire, it's another part, and satirical media is another part of pop culture that it can pervade, and now a whole lot of people who would have been exposed to it aren't going to watch it. So that's not good in the long term for them.
Nick Minchin, what do you think about this? I mean, we won't dwell on this for too long, but
No, well,
I'm interested in your
I'm,
opinion.
I'm absolutely appalled.
Kevin Rudd bought into it.
I'm appalled that anyone would actually want to satirise such a magnificent occasion as the royal wedding tomorrow. But I must say I would defend to the death their right to do so.
The death?
Well, mate, for you, anything.
Yes.
Look, I think it's a pity it has been banned. I think The Chaser is a fantastic part of Australian TV.
Is that the broadcast you would have watched?
Probably not, but taking the mickey out of things is such a great Australian institution and tradition that that's the role that The Chaser fills. I can understand the sensitivity of the Palace and the BBC, but I think they've overplayed it, overplayed their hand, and it's a pity it can't go ahead.
Amanda Vanstone, briefly on this. Kevin Rudd bought into this. He said the BBC ought to get an Australian sense of humour.
Well, I actually don't care much about what Kevin Rudd thinks, but
I'm surprised to hear that.
but he's right. I mean, our Australian sense of humour is one of taking the mickey, and I agree with everything Nick said, except I'm not appalled that Chaser wanted to do it. I think it would have been a great show. If anything, it would have probably made the Royals a bit more endearing to us.
We've got another question on this, and we'll just go to Kathy Kyle.
Yes, I'd like to ask Craig, would you like the Chasers to do a skit of your wedding on your wedding day and have it advertised broadly? Because if so, I'd like to see that one.
That's a fair question.
Not everyone's on your side.
No, absolutely. It's quite divided, as always. Look, I wouldn't necessarily want that to be done. And it's interesting, what was interesting over the few weeks where we were preparing for this, what was very clear by the end is that Kate and Wills were not the targets at all during this. A lot was about the media coverage of it. A lot was about the institution of the monarchy, the succession, the characters involved in it, that kind of thing. It wasn't really in the end about Kate and Wills. Now, whilst I might not necessarily want that on my weddings, this is a massive global, televised event. And I think when they're doing, getting broadcast rights to everyone and getting money for that, I don't think you can stand back in the end and say, but we don't want anyone to actually, laugh about it at the same time. And the ridiculousness is, it's not going to stop comedy occurring around it anywhere. I just don't know why they've chosen this particular instance to, be
that's one of the strangest things, isn't it? Because in actual fact, there is going to be comedy elements in a lot of the broadcasts, not only in Australia but around the world. And you've been singled out here.
Yes, I don't know why we've been singled out, but really don't.
Take it as a badge of honour.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another subject, and we'll go to our next question. It's from Theodora Fabricius.
Prince William attracted a lot of media interest.
Just hang on for a sec, we'll get a microphone to you there.
Prince William attracted a lot of media interest on his recent visit to flood-hit areas of Queensland. Do you think that the positive reception shows that Australia is warming to the young prince who represents a modern monarchy for the future? Or do you think that it's more a symptom of an American-influenced celebrity culture?
Amanda Vanstone.
No, I don't. I think he's a member of the royal family. We have an Australian monarch, happens to be Queen Elizabeth. He's the next in line after Prince Charles to the throne. And Australians are naturally warm and friendly. But let's wait and see what happens on the death or abdication of the current monarch.
Marcia Langton, I'd quite like to hear you on this. You obviously were, almost sort of mystically moved yourself, it appears, as a young person by the visit of the monarch. What about the visit of the pending monarch, potentially?
My view is that Australians are very tolerant, and I think we've happily got a, pretty robust democracy, and with the numbers so close, with the divide between monarchists and Republicans, pretty tight. People, I think, are very polite about this issue. It's like, don't discuss religion at the dinner table. People try not to get into a Barney about it. And I do think in the country areas, people love the monarchy. It's very clear. They just absolutely love the monarchy. Most of the eastern suburbs in Melbourne would turn out as well. So you know, it's a demographic thing. You know, I don't think Australians are going to be rude to other Australians about their support for the monarchy and vice versa.
Let's hear from Bob Carr.
I think we've got to see this as a dynastic celebration. A family holds the throne. They're proud of it. There's a line of succession that goes back to 1713. Not one of them wants to be the first on duty who sees a threat to that family hold on the throne. This is a dynastic celebration. It's a wonderful bit of dynastic propaganda. And when a royal comes to Australia, he or she is performing duty for the family, and that is to maintain support for this institution. Now, I'm quite fond of this family, and constitutional monarchies aren't bad ways of running countries. But we've got to understand the power plays behind the promotion of this whole package. A dynasty is in power. It's power worth having, as they see it, and they don't want to be the first in the family line to lose it. It's understandable.
Angela.
I see that as a bit too cynical. I think that when they come to the country, they see places where they can do genuine good. And I think they do achieve that. And I think Prince William achieved that on this recent visit. I covered Princess Diana's tour in 1996. Wherever she went, I saw the effect she had on people when she spoke to them. I saw the effect she had on the places she visited. The Royal Rehabilitation Centre in Ryde, for instance, she visited because her former equerry's son had become a quadriplegic when a rugby scrum collapsed. This place had had no funding interest coming from either state or federal governments in years. When she visited, a whole lot of attention went on to the place, funding came in. The people that are there now, some of them have been residents for up to 50 years, still have the photo of the day they met her up on their wall, and it inspires them to keep going every single day. These people do good. To say it's just a marketing exercise to keep the dynasty going, I think is too cynical. And I think they can do good that no other celebrity can.
I think their motivation is fine, but I think to overlook the power relationships in this is naive. I give them credit for the commitment to public service. The reason this dynasty has survived, the reason it has survived stretches where Republican sentiment has risen in this country and elsewhere in the Commonwealth, is the Queen's commitment to public duty. And the documentary captured the fact that there's unanimity that is an inspiration to everyone. But I question the Republican hope that with her passing, there'll be a shift in opinion in Australia. I think that's been expressed so often, it's now beginning to grate a bit, and it deserves more examination. I think Charles's succession to the throne will probably lead to a surge of additional dynastic fervour and attachment. I think the Republican job will continue to be hard in Australia.
I want to go back to Aaron Paulins, because you've been studying, as we said earlier, the relationship between Australia and the monarchy. I mean, do you see a sort of great revival in monarchism, in love of the monarchy, off the back of this royal wedding?
Yeah, well, I think what Bob's saying is actually quite true, is that the Republic's always been something that's going to arrive. And you see that in, republicanism in Australia in the end of the 19th century as well. There's always this hope that, the Republic will come. And I think the hope that the Republic will come when Charles is king is the same. When Charles is king, he's going to be the king. He won't be the annoying Prince of Wales that has nothing to do and is just waiting for the Queen to die. So he'll actually transform into the baby boomer monarch. The baby boomer generation will get their brief hold on the throne. And then Gen Y will come along, with Kate and Wills. And so they'll be popular as well. So you can't rely on the royal family stuffing up in order to become a republic. You actually have to present